Thank you, Bhatt sir. Thank you all our respected chairpersons. Since the morning, since yesterday, actually, we've had wonderful sessions across how to manage diabetes. Panikar sir, thank you for coming to the session. In the time when we were getting trained to become diabetologists, we had learned that the 4 basic pillars for management of diabetes was what? Anybody? It's a workshop. Diet and exercise, monitoring and medicines, education, follow-ups. So these were the 4 most important pillars. So one of the pillar we talked about at the nutrition session. The second, Dr. Vipul just talked about the insulin and therapy for better management. I'm going to talk about the monitoring. And in 2025, it cannot be just simple monitoring. We have to make everything fancy. We have to make everything data driven. We have to have everything which has a precise answer. And that is why we call it not just a simple monitoring, we call it smart monitoring. But how do we complement it with the existing therapy of insulin so that we can have the best of the outcome for our people with diabetes? So how do we do that? As physicians, as diabetologists, we have a lot of data. That data, when we look at it in the real time and act upon it with some insights, when you have thousands of patients, I'm sure a lot of us sitting in the audience, our chairpersons, have an experience of treating people with diabetes for more than 15 years, for more than 20 years. That gives you a data of more than, say, 20,000, 30,000 people with diabetes. If all of that data is properly analyzed, just simply put into an AI chatbot, be it Gemini, be it ChatGPT, or any other AI that Copilot you're comfortable with, all of these tools can give you how you've been treating these people in the past decades and what improvement can we make, what have been our gaps as clinicians, and how do we fill up those gaps on our own. So that is what my topic is about today. And what do we call a smart monitoring? I don't think this goes. Okay. So we want to empower not just the physicians, but also people with diabetes to have better outcomes through some data-driven insulin. You know, the latest trend is people with diabetes, any type of diabetes, they say that every decision that is being made should be inclusive of me into the team. It cannot be just you as doctors if you prescribe me something without counseling or without telling me what is the importance of that decision. It will not have the recommended outcome that you are expecting. So everything needs to have that person with diabetes as well in the decision-making process. Now, specifically when it comes to insulin, we've seen that there are a lot of barriers. Dr. Vipul just showed you a plethora of barriers, patient-related barriers and physician-related barriers. And that is why we are far behind than our counterparts. And that is how the term clinical inertia got coined. Dr. Kamlesh Kunti sir from Leicester and his team, they said that through various data-driven insight, they have found out that we are 5 years late in prescribing insulin, right? That's what Vipul sir said. And this is the clinical inertia and insulin initiation, because we don't want aggressive monitoring out of, when you're prescribing insulin. You're scared of hypoglycemia. You're scared of any other complication that the patient might not come back to you when you're prescribing insulin. All of these are barriers. And that suboptimal glucose control leads to bad outcomes, early onset of complication, that person with diabetes not having a good quality of life. And that is why, as physicians, the number one thing that can help us is educating this person on monitoring, and not just monitoring, but on how to act on those readings, on those numbers, once that monitoring has started. So what is the solution? There are different types and ways of monitoring. All of us are aware. How many of you do an SMBG for your people with diabetes? We no longer call them patients, so we call them people with diabetes. So just 2-3 raise of hands. We are such a big hall of audience. Yes, it's a workshop. Raise your hand. How many of you do a CGMS? All right, so then I'll ask a very different question. What is the frequency of your SMBG? How many of you recommend it, say, 4 times a week? For people with type 2, I'm saying. No? No? How many of you do it less than 4 times recommended? Okay, okay. How many of you recommend that it is more than 4 times a week? Yes. So that's the answer, individualized depending on what sort of therapy they are taking. So for people who are on MDI, the answer is at least once or twice in a day. So more than 4 times a week. For somebody who is on a stable dose of OHA, it could be 3 to 4 times a week on a stable dose. If that is also uncontrolled, the glycemic variability needs to be monitored using a CGMS. Again, an intermittently scanned CGMS, wherein the person is taught on how to act on those numbers again, read the intraday and interday variability graphs. So that's how it all started. The DCCT trial in the late 1990s, I think we all learned from maybe professors like you, but sir, wherein we were told that it was the 8-point SMBG that was done at that point of time, even without the sophisticated glucometers that needed to be used. But those were the landmark trials that told us that if monitoring was done well, we would achieve a good HbA1c, thereby delay the onset of complications or reduce the frequency of complications. We would give them a safe, active lifestyle. Somebody driving needs to check his or her sugars. Somebody playing sports actively needs to check his or her sugars. Somebody fasting and feasting, Smita ma'am, has to check his or her sugars. That's what you told us. Education has a lot of impact on all of this, and we need to take care of how that smartness can be included into all of this. So now we have real-time monitoring, real-time CGMS, which can tell you your sugars right now. Even in India, we have the Freestyle, we have the Sinocare, we have the Medtronic Guardian. I think we have the G5 Dexcom, but it's not so popular because of the cost. All of these CGMS have a personalized, adaptive, therapy tools wherein the algorithm that is there in your phone after multiple CGMS with the use of an AI tool, and the doctor can tell you how to manage your sugars, can tell you how to manage the insulin dosages. If I ask any one of you sitting in the audience is that you have to take 1 shot of insulin, would you be ready? You would still be skeptical, right? In spite of us prescribing insulin day and out, we would still be skeptical. Imagine a person with a chronic care disorder, you're prescribing an injectable and you say that you will have to take it for minimum certain number of period. And even if you guarantee कि हूँ बंद करी देइस तमने थोड़ा time पछी, still that person will always be skeptical. And now imagine that you tell him that just because you are taking insulin, you'll have to monitor yourself more frequently because insulin has the hypoglycemic effect, and the only one thing that we don't want from the insulin therapy is hypoglycemia. But all of this can be negated. The negative impact of insulin can be negated when we ourselves are convinced of the fact that in 2025, these CGMS tools can help us avoid hypos, the frequency of hypos, be it daytime hypos or nocturnal, and those CGMS will also have a predictive alert. So say I have put a range for myself being 72 to 140 because I'm a young person with type 2 diabetes on insulin, on OHA. My alarm will go off the moment my sensor will predict that my sugars are going 75 and below. And it will really beep that the entire audience over here will be scared louder than the alarm. So that is the smart technology that we are talking about using. This smart monitoring can optimize the insulin dose, not just in escalating to get an optimal sugar control, but in also de-escalating the sugar control. You have so much of data, even in SMBG, that if you just click a picture, have a free version of the AI tool in your phone, be it Copilot or ChatGPT again, both of them easy to use, upload the picture of that SMBG, less than half a second task, and ask the AI tool to tell you that give me the insights out of these SMBG tool. And the AI will tell you what is the glycemic variability. It will estimate an A1C out of that SMBG paper. Now imagine what you could do with the 1400 or 1500 number reading that you get from the CGM. And again, it's easy to do. How it works, that's what I'm going to show you. It's a very seamless process. You have smarter devices now. There are glucometers. The moment a person checks his or her sugar, there will be a message going to the spouse or to the designated person, to the designated relative, and one message going to the team of the diabetologist or the diabetologist herself or himself. And all of these again get documented in the app on the phone. Very easy to download in a CSV file, very easy to download in a Excel sheet as well, which you can read. These are just numbers. Sometimes we are lazy in reading the numbers and we just take a glance. But if you just download it, ask your team to even upload it somewhere. Retrospectively also you can go and see what impact did that glucometer readings make to your person with diabetes. See, these are so many glucometers, all of these smart glucometers. There are some that you can attach directly to your phone. And that's the Beto glucometers. I don't endorse, there is no conflict of interest, they are not paying me anything, but it's a very useful glucometer and with a good mod. There are a lot of, algorithms and applications already available. The Medtronic have their own, the Libre have their own, the Abbott people, the Libre people have their own, the Dexcom people have their own, the Ipsomed people have their own, the Sinocare people have their own. And it's just as simple as downloading a Google Maps on your phone. And like your Google Map guides you, these apps will guide you as to where is the therapy taking your person with diabetes, where is the therapy taking that patient in terms of gaining optimal control. These are all the CGMS that I just talked to you about. This is the Dexcom. This is the older Libre. This is the latest Libre with the predictive graph. It will also tell you when it is going above the range. So 72 to 140 ma, if it is predicting I'm going about 135, my alarm will beep. It will tell my mobile phone that something needs to be done. This is the Medtronic Guardian Connect. It is maximally used for people who are on pump, sensor augmented pump. And this is the transmitter, that is a transmitter for Eversense. Eversense is the first implantable sensor. Not available in India, but subcutaneously you can implant it and works for 6 months. The transmitter gets stuck on your arm. Everything else is waterproof since it's all subcutaneous. You can remove the transmitter when you are going for a bath or for swimming. Works wonderfully. Gives the same amount of data. Every 5 minutes the sugars are there. There are debates amongst doctors that monitoring will give the person anxiety. I don't want to know so much of numbers, So there is an off button as well. You can customize when you want to know the information. You can customize when you don't want to know the information. The person can customize that I'm putting it off, but when I go to the doctor, the readings are still there. The recording is still there for the doctor to utilize all those numbers to optimize the therapy again. This is the dashboard of how my EHR looks for a person on insulin. Again, insulin, because you can't be keeping the same dose every day. Every day of your life is different. Today I'm traveling here. Tomorrow back when I'll be in my hospital, I'll be different. Some other day I'll be eating something different. That is why my day will be different. So for everybody, those numbers of insulin dose will be ever changing. Be it on basal insulin, be it on a co-formulation, be it on a basal bolus therapy. But this is how our interactive EHR, again, smartness of using an interactive EHR. All of us are using EHRs. But just telling that EHR people that you can customize the EHR and show me just a snapshot of what my people with diabetes on insulin, how are they doing? So there are some doing very well. There are still some who are not doing so well. And it's always there. We just have to look at these insights that is told to us by technology just at a click of one button. We are using this application called Cordia, is a Danish company. So now what should we be doing? Maybe gather your all data onto a single platform. Excel sheets are also a good platform on using the smart formula to just tell you, filter out how many are there having a good fasting. The only prerequisite is data. If you have the data, you can use all the smartness of technology that is existing. Color coding as well can be done. Those EHRs will give you a color coding. The glucometers will give you a traffic light coding. The Abbott people, I think, very long back they introduced the red, yellow, and green traffic light in their glucometers, telling you where that person with diabetes is standing in terms of the number that is coming out. And EMR, integrating all of the CGM data or all of the SMBG data into that EMR will tell you where you are standing and where you are landing. So personalization again, everybody cannot be put on a CGMS, everybody cannot be told the same SMBG frequency. So whatever you guys are doing, do it with the point that the data that you collect has to be reviewed, has to be learned, has to be analyzed, and then also executed. So it's not just doing it, it's then also the next step of actionables and deliverables that need to be done once you are able to see those numbers. AI is there everywhere. See, if you are not able to learn that simple tool, which you can download for free, use it for n number of frequencies per day. If you can't upload that photo, somewhere you are not, as Gujaratis, તમે બધું જ નથી એનો ફાયદો લઈ રહ્યા. So you're falling back not just in terms of science, you're also falling back in utilizing a free AI tool that could be very, very beneficial in your practice and for your people with diabetes. A lot of, titration tools are also available. Again, those AI platforms can tell you that these titration can be very easy. Put a fasting and it'll tell you what basal titration should be done. Put a postprandial and it'll tell you that how much of a titration needs to be done. Again, in terms of escalating and de-escalating the therapy in both the sides. What is the clinical impact? Why are we talking about introducing the smartness into an already existing system that we are all following? We want to increase the time in range of our people with diabetes. We are moving on to not just time in range, we are moving on to time in tight range, time in normoglycemia. So the world is moving faster. The moment we are learning something old, they are already on to the next step. So we need this for our people with diabetes, that they are in as much normoglycemic level as possible, so that there are lesser glycemic variability, lesser hypers, lesser emergency events for intensivists to cater to. It empowers that person with diabetes. Maru sugar saru reche, there is an overall happy metabolic feeling that comes with a good glycemic control. And of course, as doctors, the efficiency, the conviction that you will have and the person with diabetes will have in you will be scaled to another level. So these are some components. This is one of my last slides. These are some components when we talk about smart monitoring and precision monitoring. These include some CGMS, HbA1c, even putting a number of HbA1c data into an AI tool will help you. There are some mental health impacts that happen. The person will have a good quality of life, overall, feeling of achievement that I've done something good with my life. And of course, behavioral changes also, because then you'll be able to tell that since you walked a certain amount of time, your sugars were in a certain range, because you had an indulge into something, that is why your sugars were into an XYZ range and you needed to take a corrective dose. And this all opens up our avenues to, a precision monitoring where every person with diabetes can have a time in range of more than 90 to 95%. And we have to make this roadmap possible for our people in India, in Ahmedabad, in Baroda, in all the places where we as doctors are practicing. And it is possible. It is possible without any extra energy inclusion anywhere. The time we spend on Facebook and Instagram could just be shifted into learning a little bit of more AI for our people with diabetes. So with that, I'll end by saying that every insulin dose is a decision. This smarter monitoring will turn that decision into a very data-driven opportunity to improve the outcomes for our people with diabetes. And no, it's not a scientist saying, it's just me saying, so it is upon you whether you want to follow it or not. So thank you so much for your kind attention. Thank you, chairpersons.